Spectrum TV, broadening your horizon.
Many thanks for joining us this morning. This is Sports Central here at Spectrum Television. My name is Raj James. It's a pretty fine morning to be back. We'll look at the latest tennis stories this morning. There's news from the world of golf. The Live Golf Series, backed by Saudi Arabia, is causing a lot more controversy now. Serena Williams, well, is that the last time we'll see her in Toronto? Well, looks like. We'll tell you more after now. Latest from the transfers and the reactions continue to show. Last night's UEFA Super Cup that had Real Madrid, UEFA Champions League winners, taking on the UEFA Europa League champions in Eintracht Frankfurt from Germany. Well, back here, and of course, we'll tell you how it panned out. Now, let's begin in typical fashion with a sports wrap-up, bringing up to speed with the latest news making rounds in this exciting industry. Stay right here with us. Okay. Tennis it is, and that's where we begin the conversation this morning. At head to Toronto and tell you about 12th seed Belinda Bentice defeating three-time champion Serena Williams 6-2, 6-4 at the National Bank Open to advance to the round of 16. Bentice would face Gabin Muguruza next. Now playing her first match since her essay in Vogue detailing the decision behind her impending retirement, Williams was greeted by a rapturous ovation from the Toronto crowd as she took to the court. Now Williams was bidding to win her first back-to-back singles matches since the 2021 Roland Garros, having won her Toronto opener in straight sets over Nuria Paris-Diaz. Now after the match, Williams stayed on court and fought off tears as she bid farewell to the Toronto crowd. Now, still talking tennis, world #1 Iga Swiatek eased into the last 16 of the Canadian Open by seeing off Australia's Atla Tomljanovic. Swiatek's 6-1, 6-2 victory owed much to the speed at which she came out of the blocks at the start of the match in Toronto, showing no signs of a hangover from a quarterfinal loss at the recent Poland Open. Tomljanovic fought to find a way back into it in the second set, but it was to no avail, with the pole one of the WTA Tour's most impressive front runners for a reason. Now, after a dominant start to the year, Swiatek's past 6 weeks have been less successful, seeing her 37-match unbeaten run come to an end in the Wimbledon third round with defeats to Elise Conner and then being knocked out in the Warsaw last 8 by another French woman, Caroline Garcia. I tell you more tennis stories from Toronto now. 2019 champion Bianca Andreescu notched another key win on home soil at the National Bank Open, and of course on Wednesday night, earning her first win over a player who had troubled her mightily in the past. Andreescu toppled Elise Conner 6-3, 4-6, 6-3 in a time of 2 hours 26 minutes to reach the tournament's round of 16 for the third time in her career. Now Andreescu has now won 8 matches in a row of the event when it is held in Toronto, which is the nearest major city to her hometown. Elise Conner had defeated Andreescu in straight sets in their 2 previous meetings, which both came in last year's grass court season at Berlin and in the first round of Wimbledon. Now let's move to the ATP and tell you about Nick Kyrgios claiming the biggest scalp of his record winning streak yesterday, Wednesday, when he upset world #1 Daniil Medvedev 6-7, 6-4, 6-2 in a heavyweight National Bank Open clash in the second round in Montreal. Now, Kyrgios frequently deployed serve and volley tactics to exploit the defending champion's deep positioning on return. He also stabbed off the 2 breakpoints he faced during the 2-hour encounter at the ATP Masters 1000 event, and after backing up his run to his maiden Grand Slam final at Wimbledon in June with his 7th ATP Tour title in Washington last week, Kyrgios has now won 14 of his past 15 matches. The win against Medvedev lifted the Australian to number 31 in the Pepperstone ATP live rankings. Now let's stay in Montreal and tell you about a wild Wednesday, continuing with upset, ending with the biggest shock of them all, according to the latest ATP rankings. Now on a day that also saw the first, second, and fifth seeds planted, next gen ATP Britain and world number 82 Jack Draper closed the Canadian night session with a 7-5, 7-6 turner against Stefanos Tsitsipas by beating the third seed, and world number 5 Draper earned his first top 10 win. The gap of 77 places between Draper and Tsitsipas is the largest of any of the day's upsets by some margin, with the Greek joining Daniil Medvedev, Carlos Alcaraz, and Andrei Rublev in making an early exit at the National Bank Open. Now let's go talk some golf, where Rory McIlroy says common sense prevailed after 3 players from the Saudi-backed Leaf Golf Series lost a court bid against the PGA Tour to play in the FedEx Cup playoffs. The PGA Tour has suspended members for taking part in the Breakaway Series. Australian Matt Jones and Americans Tar Gotch and Hudson Swafford sought a temporary restraining order so they could play in the first event this week. However, U.S. District Judge Beth Lapson Freeman sided with the PGA Tour. The trial claimed the suspension was causing them irreparable harm, but the judge in a ruling said the lucrative payments offered by Leave are based upon players' calculations of what they were leaving behind. Not Aaron McIlroy, who has criticized the series, said, "Now, from my vantage point, common sense prevailed, and I thought it was the right decision." Now let's head to athletics and tell you about Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce running the 4th fastest ever time in the women's 100 meters, a time of 10.62 seconds to win the Diamond League in Monaco. Now, the 5-time world 100 meters champion, who's now 35, bettered her own mark for the fastest 100 meters of the year, having clocked 10.66 seconds in Poland on Saturday. She has now run the 3rd and 4th fastest women's 100 meters times ever. Fellow world champion Jake Whitman of Britain won the 1,000 meters with the fastest time this year. Fraser-Pryce's fellow Jamaican Shericka Jackson came second in Monaco with a personal best of 10.71 seconds, while Maria Jose Talou of Ivory Coast set an African record in 3rd, and Britain's Dario Nieta finished 6th. Now to football, Karim Benzema continued his Ballon d'Or pursuit with a 324th goal for European champions Real Madrid as it beat Eintracht Frankfurt to lift the UEFA Super Cup in Helsinki. Carlo Ancelotti's side, who beat Liverpool to win the Champions League in May, took the lead when David Alaba tapped into an empty net with Frankfurt goalkeeper Kevin Trapp stranded following Casemiro's header back across goal. Benzema doubled the Spanish giants' lead after the break with a first-time finish from Vinicius Junior's cross to move 2nd on Real's all-time goal-scoring list, overtaking Raul Blanco Gonzalez and behind only Cristiano Ronaldo, who has 450 goals. Frankfurt, making their Super Cup debut, had moments of their own. The best when Diachi Kamada was sent through early on, but the Europa League winners looked second best once Real hit their stride. Now let's tell you about transfers, where Chelsea are ready to sign Frankie de Jong and Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang if Barca allow both players to leave this month. Manchester United agreed a £72 million fee to sign de Jong last month, for he's owed £17 million in deferred wages. Will not agree to leave until he's paid. Barca want him to stay, but Olivier agrees to take a significant pay cut and accept a £6 million settlement for his deferred wages. Chelsea are willing to match United's £72 million offer, and unlike United, they can offer de Jong Champions League football. Aubameyang moved to Barca on a free transfer from Arsenal in January. He has 3 years left on his current contract, although Thomas Tuchel has been reluctant to talk about Aubameyang in public. He is keen to work again with a player who has scored 79 goals for him in 2 seasons, back at the Signal Iduna Park, playing for Borussia Dortmund. Finally, Nigerian Football Federation NFF President Amaju Melvin Pinnick has hinted that the possibility of going for a 3rd term during the country's football polls set for next month could be a reality. Now, in an exclusive interview with People Sport in Nairobi, Kenya on Monday, Pinnick, who also doubles as a member of the FIFA Council representing Anglophone countries, as well as a member of the Confederation of African Football CAF Executive Committee, said he's received a lot of requests asking him to seek re-election. Pinnick said, and I quote, "I had initially decided not to vie, but have been receiving several calls from very influential Nigerians as well as genuine lovers of the sport urging me to seek another term. It is within the law, and I'll decide about it when the right time comes." And that's sports wrap up this morning. We are talking on this and a lot more after the short time. I'll stay right here with us.
I think Bryden always wants to win the dress Dior.
Bryden,
He always wants to win the
Let's
best dresser. He always wants it. You know, it reminds me of Ronaldo.
Yeah,
who always wants to get the highest goal scorer award.
Yeah, so
every single time.
So if it's not tuxedo, it has to be just something.
Yes, something to oppress us.
So this one, sharp door.
Let's give it to him already.
Sharp door.
Yeah, sharp door. Let's give it to him.
Obviously, I didn't get the memo.
But on behalf of myself and Bright,
and the winner.
Yeah, the winner is
of this year's sharp door is
Blinded.
Blyden who came. Well done, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Right, so, very quickly, let's begin with Serena Williams. Of course, proverbially, as you've always said, everything that has a beginning certainly has an end. And for a three-time Toronto Open champion, Serena Williams, well, it looks like if that statement from her from day before yesterday is anything to go by, then this might be her last appearance, her swan song here. Well, Belinda Bentice ended her journey here. Blyden.
Well, it's obvious it was going to get to this point. If we were to analyze this game yesterday, definitely give it to the Olympic champion, Belinda Bentice. Exceptional tennis player, but it's sad the figure of Serena Williams wouldn't have to go farther in this particular competition. It's been forthcoming. She's not played tennis for a while, and after that long struggle, coming back, definitely expect the younger lads to beat her and show a different level of class. It's been far away from Serena Williams. We did talk about the possibilities of her retiring, which she talked about, and what could drive her to want to retire. Definitely her body's not taking her any longer, and the stress of the job, a brand like Serena needs to get to be winning games, and it's not forthcoming, and at this point it's good for her to retire. Big win for Belinda Bentice. Sad Serena Williams won't be a part of it, but it's what it is. It's tennis, and it's the beauty and excitement of tennis.
All right, now let's talk about Belinda Bentice very quickly. Well, it's her second win against Serena Williams. The last she got a win was in 2015. Wow. What's encouraged her going forward?
Yeah, absolutely, it's quite a while. And then I think for Bentice, since she won the Olympics in the tennis event, it's been more like a downturn in terms of form for her. She's not really hit that top number since that particular form she, had during, the Olympic event all through, where she won every match all through to the final. So I'm looking forward to how she puts up a fine performance, heading into the next round of competitions. She faces some very, very tough opponents in the next round. Iga Swiatek, qualified for the next round. Talk about players like Coco Gauff and the rest of them. So there's a whole lot of possible opponents for Belinda Bentice to cross en route to probably reaching the final of the Toronto Open. So I'm looking forward to that. But yesterday particularly was Serena Williams, right? Every tabloid yesterday talked about her, and I watched the video myself and I almost cried myself, because it was an emotional send-off for her. The Toronto crowd, was chanting her name. She got gift upon gift from the organizers of the National Bank Open in Toronto, and it was quite sad from perspective. But I feel that it's a twilight, and everything that has a beginning always has an end. And this unfortunately has to be the end of her career, and she has been one hell of a tennis player, and I wish her the very best, right? Right
now, for Belinda Bentice, her journey definitely continues. She takes an 8th set. Gabin Muguruza was a winner against Estonian Kai Kanapi in the previous round. Well, quoting Serena, she said, I quote him, turbulent goodbyes, but goodbye Toronto. Well, there's a last swan song for her at the US Open for this particular year. We're talking about Flushing Meadows. We'll see what Serena Williams would offer on her last official tennis outing before she waves goodbye to the sports that has brought her so much fame and so much fortune. Now, let's leave there very quickly. Still stay in Toronto meanwhile and talk about Iga Swiatek. Mari, very quickly. Well, the last 6 weeks since that 37 match unbeaten run ended for Iga Swiatek has been a little here, a little there. But yesterday, well, she hit top patch again, unplayable in the courts of Toronto, progressing to the next round of the competition here. Yeah, big stuff for her, seeing off at Ivanovic the way she did. Like you said, she came on the back of a 37 match, beaten run, and then had to crash, in the hands of, opponents and all of that. Lise Cornet, that's where he started in the 3rd round of Wimbledon. Absolutely, and then Cornet as well have qualify for the next round particularly. So I think it's a good thing for Swiatek. Maybe the hype and attention of being world #1, gradually got to her head, and then she
got a little distracted. That's how she lost in Wimbledon. But I like the fact that she's gradually coming back to the limelight, and then she has still maintained a position despite all of the losses. The downturn in form, she's maintained a position as world number 1 for a very long time, going to 3 months and counting. So I think I'm excited for her quality, and I'm looking forward to how she puts her performance against, at the US Open. She's been fantastic from the Australian Open through to the French Open, Wimbledon as well. Did a good job. She's won a few tour level titles heading into the new year. So one more tour level event at Cincinnati, and then the US Open. So watching her performance, I hope she uses this particular one last tournament, to build momentum and then get as good as possible for the US Open.
Right now, very quickly, let's still talk about Iga Swiatek. What do you make of the last 6 weeks for her, the up and down, and her tournament here at the National Bank Open, Cincinnati, as she prepares for the US Open?
Well, it was forthcoming. Remember, we talked about it. You can have that level of stretch, especially when you come surprisingly to become a world number 1 after the retirement of Ashley Barty. So it was a big concern. First, she was 20 then, and you begin to worry how she'll handle all the pressure. And we've seen that she's really handled all the pressure. Racked up the numbers, played quite well, and got to a point where at some point we're thinking, when is it going to happen? Who's going to beat Iga Swiatek? And finally it did happen. Alex Cornet did the job. And the big thing would be the concern now. Can she keep the momentum going? Can she bring up the attention, make everybody realize that the Iga Swiatek we knew before is still the Iga Swiatek now? Exceptional tennis player, and she's been doing quite well. The number, this particular competition, the Open, would show this class. Can Iga Swiatek come back and show that level of dominance? We've seen the fall at Wimbledon, we've seen the fall in recent times, and there seems to be a question mark, and the question mark is, have other players been able to sort out Iga Swiatek's momentum, her tactics, the way she plays? And right now, I don't think so. I think it was just a moment of break, and she'll be back. But if she goes on to win this particular tournament, there will be some class, and we'll be really prepared for the US Open. I think she's good at hard court, and who knows what might happen.
Right now, let's still stay in Toronto and talk about the ATP, the men's draw of the event. Well, over the last days, 5, 6, 7 days, the last 1 week, I feel like, if you follow the show consistently, if we talk about tennis, has been one key name, more like a recurring decimal. It's from Australia. His name is Nick Kyrgios, and that's owing to the kind of form we've seen him in this particular season, described by many bookmakers and pundits as his best season ever. Ronaldo has taken him to the Wimbledon final, well, swept through Washington last week, winning the singles and, of course, the doubles event. And this red-hot form was taken to another level yesterday, beating world number 1 Daniil Medvedev, now getting the attention of the whole of Toronto. It's the Nick Kyrgios season. It could be the Nick Kyrgios here, Marizona.
Well, it could be the Nick Kyrgios, second part of the year. He didn't start the year particularly very well, but I mean, I think he realized, we've all talked about the Wimbledon Open, and that has been his turning point for him. But I watched this game yesterday, Bright. I think this man has got quality to play. Top level tennis. Daniil Medvedev came on the back of his first title win in 2022, despite being world number 1.
Yeah, Los Cabos.
Yeah, Los Cabos particularly, and the expectation was, well, now you've won a title, consistent. But I mean, he faced Nick Kyrgios, and then I particularly had doubts that this might be Nick Kyrgios fall, because he's playing a world number 1. But he played yesterday. He dominated that game from start to finish. His hard-hitting game, worked for him time and time again. And he was the few breakpoints he faced in the game yesterday. He saved majorly all of them. And I'm wondering, Bright, where did this particular part of Nick Kyrgios was hiding? Because he's come out of his shell and he's played tennis in a way that nobody has expected. And I think I'm proud of him particularly, because I love stories where players are out, of the circumference, but they've gradually put themselves in. So it's a good thing for him. He faces Demeno next, and then compared to Daniil Medvedev, it's a weaker opponent, and the expectation will be, well, be consistent, get to the quarterfinal, semi-final, maybe win it, make it back-to-back.
Bryden, 14 wins in 15 matches. That's it for Nick Kyrgios.
It's the Nick show. I was listening to Mari talk about beginning of season. For me, Australian Open announced Nick. Had some complaints, those issues, got to the 4th round.
They won the doubles alongside Thanasi Kokinakis.
Surely. And played quite well, but it was all about the heckling with the fans and all the showbiz that he brought to tennis. And now we have a different kind of Nick. Not the Nick we used to know. It's the focused Nick now. A Nick that's not distracted. A Nick that's not fine. I think in recent times he's not been fine. The last competition he participated, he was not fine. You look at from the beginning of the year. Every tour level he went to, he was fined a particular amount of money for misbehavior. And right now, we're having a very focused need. I'm quite excited by what is happening. He took it to another level. When you beat Medvedev, well, there were big concerns for Medvedev because he's not really played for a while, came back from that injury, went to the 250 tournament, was able to win it. But it got to a point you are facing the man in form, Nick Kyrgios. I think that Wimbledon show in the final made the difference for Nick Kyrgios. Playing against Djokovic and being that close to winning. I remember what Nick Kyrgios did say. He said, ordinary players like us, when we get this, not often do we get this close to a Wimbledon final, a Grand Slam final, and he's beginning to think about winning the major. This is a sign that we have to take Nick serious going to the US Open.
Maybe he's no more ordinary, maybe he's extraordinary. Yeah, because I mean, if you watch the way he's playing, he's no more an ordinary player. He's getting to that level of being an extraordinary player. And then Bright yesterday, he talked. Biden talked about discipline and all of that. I mean, there was the points where he got a little emotional, hit the ball to the fans, and then you could see in his face that he was trying to calm himself down and tell himself, "Calm down, calm down."
The other Nick came out.
He came out, but he had to calm him down. I think that's a battle for him that he's won. Basically, I like the fact that he's been able to control his emotions even when they get out of hand. He tries to put himself back in check, and that for me would be instrumental to his chase to becoming an extraordinary player. Right
now, let's Steve Montreal was a wild Wednesday filled with plenty of upsets. Let's tell you about the biggest. Jack Draper ranks outside the top 80, took on world number 5, Stefanos Tsitsipas. Meanwhile, let's tell you how big this upset is in terms of the Pepperstone rankings. Is a 77 place chasm between Jack Draper and Stefanos Tsitsipas. What that they met yesterday. Jack Draper made nonsense of the rankings, saw off Stefanos Tsitsipas in fine fashion. Mari, on Wednesday we saw Daniel Medvedev scene of this competition. We saw Carlos Alcaraz knocked out as well. Truly a wild Wednesday.
And Rublev as well, right?
Yeah.
That shows you that it was clearly a wild Wednesday. And kudos to the next year ATP star from Britain. Talk about Jack Draper. He's had an inconsistent, times from the start of the year. Came very close. I think it was the Miami Open and all of that. But he's been able to build back. And then for Tsitsipas, well, it's been a little here, a little there for him. I mean, even at the time where we're thinking, okay, Tsitsipas is back, he's becoming consistent, he loses. Same story happened all through, the events, the ATP 1000 events had from start of the year. He just couldn't he wasn't consistent as much as possible. So I'm wondering what's happening to him. 2 years ago, we were talking about the fact that he was young, got into the limelight very early, and then he's distracted. But 2 years after, he's still struggling with, all of that. And I'm wondering, why he's not been able to be consistent. And then despite all of that, he's still in the top 10, of the ATP rankings. And then kudos to Jack Draper, 77 places ahead of him in the rankings. He saw him off in fine fashion. So kudos to the youngster. I hope he follows through, the tracks, that has been, put up by the likes of Carlos Alcaraz, the youngsters of this world and the rest of them. So kudos to him. But it was wild Wednesday. Alcaraz also, dropped out, and I'm wondering how that happened for a youngster who I was fancying to become, at least win this particular one. And then same story for Andrew Rublev, who has basically been out of form in the last 2 weeks. So it's a good story for for Draper rather, and I hope that he continues his form bright.
Right now, would quickly leave tennis for now and hit the break. So when we return, we're talking about stories from football. Imagine Melvin Pinnock is back making headlines. The NFF president, with the NFF elections just around the corner, has come out with another big one. Nigerians are reacting big time. There was the UEFA Super Cup yesterday. Eintracht Frankfurt from Germany and Real Madrid from Spain. We'll take a look at that game, how it panned out on that glorious night in Helsinki. And when we're back, we'll talk about the game in very fine detail. Stay right here with us. Right back at you.
Here's Cornet now. The cross. Back post. Dubois is there. Straight back in. Oh, it's a goal! Leon Dubois. Because the women's sport can't play the simple ball. Dia in for her
Well, guys, the fans, Helsinki rather thoroughly, seems to have enjoyed that one. Well, was there any doubting who would win the night? Real Madrid entering Frankfurt, Blyden.
Well, you look at history, the way they won the Champions League, you surely know that it's likely going to be Real Madrid. And it came to pass. Have such quality on the side. Look at the number of players. I was watching the game and one thought came to me. I could imagine Manchester United being like Real Madrid. That sucks. The way you turn your face.
You always have to bring Manchester United to every story.
But you have to look at Real Madrid. The quality spread out. Vinicius Junior from the midfield. You're talking about Modric, a Ballon d'Or winner, and now we're looking at Benzema, the big Ben. He said he's going to win. He's the number 9. They don't need another number 9. And we saw that class. Kudos to the side. And much talk about the coach. I'm talking about Carlo Ancelotti. The best manager I've seen in recent times. Quality coach. Wherever he goes to, he gets to win trophies.
Right now, he's fourth. Now for the Los Blancos, we're talking Don Carlito. What? Beyond Don Carlito, let's talk about another standard. Karim Benzema is 324th. Goal in the Real Madrid shirts, Real Madrid colors. Now second, and the all-time goal scorer Chatuli Cristiano Ronaldo's 450 goal mark stands in his way. He's gotten past a legendary figure, the club we're talking, Raul Blanco Gonzalez. And now the conversation is back about Benzema and Ballon d'Or. What does that put him now?
Bright's in pole position, for my ratings, puts him in pole position because you look at the previous season, I mean, he was the starter performer, scored 44 goals in 46 games in all competitions for Real Madrid. That's a feat that is unmatched, only close. The only person that comes close is Lewandowski for Bayern Munich. But Benzema has got an upper hand and won the Champions League with Real Madrid with a less fancy Real Madrid side, and then went to, of course, won the Super Cup as well. So he's got, everything. He ticks basically every box.
No, well, won La Liga.
Yeah, won the La Liga as well, and I won the double, the league double with La Liga, and of course as the Copa del Rey, if I'm wrong. So I think he's in pole position.
Copa del Rey.
I think it was the Super Copa de España, particularly, yeah. And so I feel he's got everything, to win this particular one, barring maybe any last minute changes. But these things happen.
Now, what we're talking about last minute changes.
These things happen.
Well, the last minute change could come from the World Cup. If he goes through the World Cup and has a terrible year, can that be the turning point or the turning factor, deciding factor as to where it goes this year?
I think it's been too huge this year. You look at a player with such dominance. It's always, whenever there's a Ballon d'Or winner or FIFA World Best winner, it's always very clear. You could say it maybe in few occasions.
So not even a terrible World Cup for Karim Benzema can derail this?
Not at all. The performance have been top notch for me. World Cup is coming at the end of the year.
Right.
And surely you look at it, I'm trying to see who's going to perform at very high standard. I'm really looking at it, I can't find it.
2018 World Cup, 2018 Ballon d'Or was given to, I think, Lionel Messi. And then Argentina crashed out of the quarterfinals of the World Cup that year, and then they lost to the eventual champions France in that competition as well. So I think Karim Benzema and Messi had a good year in 2018, for Barcelona. So for Karim Benzema, I totally believe that even if he has a bad run at the World Cup, he's done too much this year already, to win it. Moreover,
2018 went to Luka Modric.
Luka Modric, particularly, the Croatian national team
won the World Cup. Won the
La Liga.
Didn't win the World Cup. Was finalist in the World Cup. France won the World Cup.
Yeah.
But masterminded Croatia's run to the World Cup final. Won the Champions League with Real Madrid. Won the La Liga as well with them.
I won a lot already. But this is why I look at it, Bright. With this level of performance that Benzema has put up, you need to give not just a performance at a World Cup, a classic performance, a super performance. Because look at it, the Champions League has all through been about Karim Benzema. The league has all through been about Karim Benzema.
Basically.
Superb form. And right now, I can't figure out any player that can give that level of performance.
Right now, very quickly, Chelsea on the verge of getting Frankie de Jong, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. What would that mean for them?
Quality additions to the side. We talked about this yesterday at the Battle of the Fans, where I said they still need a lot of quality, to prepare for the league. And I think Frankie de Jong coming in as stack on a midfielder that guarantees them, some good games week in, week out for them. Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, he understands the Premier League through and through. He's been there before, and then he was once highest goal scorer at the end of the season. So he comes in and helps them. Atuku yesterday was talking about the fact that he's interested in the goals. Aubameyang scored for him at Dortmund, 79 goals particularly. So I think he comes in plus that Chelsea quality, might be, you know, a short-term option. But for Chelsea right now, and the way Chelsea are right now, I think they need those 2 players to come in and beef up the squad.
I think football is usually not very long-term from my point of view. Not often you get very long-term projects because football, you don't get patient enough, especially when the results are not coming. And look at Chelsea now. All they need is someone who knows how to score goals, who's patient as a striker and can play even from the side and get to score these goals. And Aubameyang ticks that box.
Right, now, very quickly, let's wrap up from home. Majumel Pinnick saying, well, some influential figures within the nation are pushing him to go for a 3rd term. Political statement?
Yeah, right. You know, in a situation where, you know, a lot of people don't want you to do something, but you want to do it, so you transfer the interest to something else and say, well, somebody wants me to do this because of you and all of that. I think it's just a political statement.
Now, it's been more like, you know, it's one of the Nigerian setup, the Nigerian factor. We've seen people up to next year's election, general election in the country.
Yeah. People bought forms for people.
People bought forms for people. You know, we saw, you know, Northern youth, Southern youth, you know, Middle Belt youths bought forms for politicians. So is that a script Marjorie is playing out?
Well, it's political. Football also has its political realms. But on the other hand, you look at it, well, he deserves to go for it.
Has he done enough?
Well, it doesn't matter whether he's done enough.
As long as
right.
Well, he should, you know. So what's the yardstick for Marjorie? Marjorie seeking a 3rd term.
No, what I mean by it doesn't matter as long as the rule books allow him.
Well, the rule book allows him, but again, we're saying
what we need to see who's better off come out. Tell us why you're better off. You can do better than Amaju Pinnick. Come out, contest with him.
I think the statement as well is fallacious because you're saying that top figures in the country want you to run for presidency. You know, are you an NFL president for those top figures? Obviously not. You're an NFL president for football in the country. You're supposed to, you know, work towards the development of football in the country and not, you know, working to please top figures in the country.
Yeah, it sounds like a cabal thing. So the cabals control the system. So the cabals want you, and then there's nothing anybody can do about it.
Right? That's
the powers that be. They want you. That's all that matters.
Thing in 2022, right? There's not like a
is that the way we should run our football?
It's
have you ever had anything like that from? You know, from FIFA or any other federation across the country?
It goes on to show how the system is here. It shows the narrative down here that what's really happening in the country is all about who has who. We've seen it how players get to feature for the national team. We've seen it at club levels. It's the same situation time and time again playing out.
And unfortunately, right, it's not going to change soon because it reminds me of Cote d'Ivoire. You know, Didier Drogba contested twice. The powers that be there refused him. You know, Samuel Eto'o had to battle to become Fecafoot president.
Well, he still needed the powers that be.
Yeah, he needed at the end of the day.
Well, had a national team coach a while ago come on to say, well, he took a particular decision inviting a certain player to pacify members of a particular group. And if that's how we do things in this country, if that's how we run our football, then it's very sad. Maybe that's why we're having the results we're having now. Well, we'll continue the conversation beyond now on social media, on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. SpectrumTV.ng. Our website is www.spectrumtv.ng. You can also catch it on YouTube, Spectrum TV, and let's get talking as well. Thank you, Blyden, and thank you, Mari. Have a smashing Wednesday ahead.
Yeah, well, I become one person.
Let's have fun.
That will change it to special, Mari.
Nice.
Nice. Well done.